In our last video, we discussed the fifth general election of India. Around 4 months before that, Pakistan held its first general election. The results of this election commenced the Bangladesh crisis. In this video, we are going to discuss how was the Bangladesh crisis begun. Let us first see what initiated the crisis. 3 months before India held its fifth general election, Pakistan held its first ever election based on adult franchise. The poll had been called by General Yahya Khan, Ayub Khan's successor as president and chief martial law administrator. Two parties dominated the campaign: Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's Pakistan People's Party in West Pakistan and National Awami League of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in East Pakistan. Bhutto sought to declass himself, at least rhetorically, by promising every Pakistani roti kapda or makan, that is, food, clothing and shelter. Mujib's campaign was based on East Pakistan's sense of victimhood, its anger at the suppression of the Bengali language, and the exploitation of its rich natural resources by the military rulers of the western half of the country. What Yahya Khan and his generals were hoping for was a splintered verdict, something that would let them call the shots from behind the scenes. The polls were held in the third week of December 1970. The PPP won 88 out of the 144 seats in West Pakistan, whereas the Awami League swept the more populous East, winning 167 of its 169 seats. These results surprised Mujibur Rahman and shocked Yahya Khan, for the president had intended that newly elected assembly would frame a democratic constitution. The worry now was that the Awami League, with its majority, would insist on a federation where the Eastern Wing would manage its own affairs, leaving only defense and foreign policy to the central government. Mujib had already indicated that he would like East Pakistan to have control over the foreign exchange its products generated, and perhaps issue its own currency as well. The relationship between Pakistan's two wings had always been a colonial one, with West dominating East militarily, economically, and even culturally. For both general and patrician, the prospect of having a Bengali decide their destinies was too horrible to contemplate. The Bengali Muslim was regarded by his West Pakistani counterpart as effete and effeminate, and too easily corrupted by proximity to Hindus. Among these Hindus were many professionals: lawyers, doctors, university professors. The fear of West Pakistani elite was that if Mujib's Awami League came to form the government, the constitution to be adopted by them will have Hindu iron hand in it. On the other side, the East Pakistani Muslims looked upon their West Pakistani counterparts as the ruling classes, as foreign ruling classes, and as predatory foreign ruling classes. They resented the rulers' dismissal of their language, Bengali. They complained that their agricultural wealth was being drained away to feed the western sector, and they noted that Bengalis were very poorly represented in the upper echelons of Pakistani bureaucracy, judiciary, and, not the least, army. The feeling of being discriminated against had been growing over the years. By the time of the elections of 1970, the politically minded East Bengali had become allergic to a central authority located 1,000 miles away. In January 1971, Yahya Khan and Bhutto travelled separately to the East Pakistan capital, Dhaka. They held talks with Mujib, but found him firm on the question of federal constitution. The president then postponed the convening of National Assembly. The Awami League answered by calling an indefinite general strike. Throughout East Pakistan, shops and offices put down their shutters. Even railways and airports closed down. Clashes between police and demonstrators became a daily occurrence. The military decided to quell these protests by force. Troop reinforcements were flown in, or sent by ship to the principal eastern port Chitgaon. On 25th March 1971, Yahya Khan ordered Operation Searchlight, a military crackdown on the entire Bengali leadership and its supporters. Let us now see the repression and the resulting refugee crisis that put enormous burden on India. Students were rounded up, shot, and pushed into graves hastily dug and bulldozed over by tanks. There were troop detachments at work in other parts of the city, targeting Bengali newspaper offices and homes of local politicians. The same night, Mujibur Rahman was arrested at his home and flown off to a secret location in West Pakistan. The Pakistani army fanned out into the countryside, seeking to stamp out any sign of rebellion. East Bengali troops mutinied in several places, including Chitgaon, where one major captured a radio station and announced the establishment of the independent People's Republic of Bangladesh. To combat the guerrillas, the army raised bands of local loyalists called Razakars, who put the claims of religion and hence of a united Pakistan above those of language. Villages and small towns, even the odd airport, which had fell into the rebel hands, then were recaptured. The reprisals grew progressively more brutal. As an American consular officer reported, army officials and soldiers give every sign of believing that they are now embarked on a jihad against Hindu corrupted Bengalis. As the killings increased, so did the refugees fleeing to India for their lives. India followed open door policy. People from all walks of lives left their homes to escape the horrors unleashed upon them by their own government. What was trickle in March became a stream in April, and by the end of the month it was a flood. By the end of May, 1,02,000 refugees were coming into India daily, that is, 71 refugees per minute. Worse, this figure was only going to go further up. In June alone, close to 30 lakh refugees or 3 million were going to come into India. Eventually, this figure will reach the staggering figure of 10 million. The magnitude of this figure is so astounding that it quickly stops seeming real. But it was. The sheer scale of atrocities being carried out in East Pakistan was becoming comparable to Stalin's Great Terror. The Indian border states were quickly overwhelmed by the size of refugee influx. By July, India's small state of Tripura had a million refugees, where its own population was only 1.5 million. Unsurprisingly, the refugee camps quickly became infested with disease, crime and destitution. Indian government was running out of resources to even guard the refugees, let alone help them. The cost of refugees was beginning to strain the Indian economy. Moreover, there was an even more sinister trend emerging. The composition of refugees was changing. By April end, refugees coming were 80% Hindus and 20% Muslims, the inverse of East Pakistan's population demographic. Clearly, the Hindus were being targeted by the Pakistani army. It seemed as if a political genocide had slowly metamorphosed into a communal one without any real reason for it. To the Indian government, this was so disturbing that it was quickly hushed up, lest it flare up revenge communal riots in India. By the summer of 1971, along with the hundreds of camps for refugees, India was also hosting training camps for the Bengali guerrillas. Known as the Mukti Bahini, these fighters numbered some 20,000 in all, regular officers and soldiers of the once united Pakistani army, plus younger volunteers learning how to use light arms. The instruction was at first in the hands of the paramilitary border security force, But by the autumn, the Indian Army had assumed direct charge. From their bases in India, the guerrillas would venture into East Pakistan to attack army camps and disrupt communications. Escaped politicians from East Pakistan also formed provisional government of Bangladesh on Indian soil. The important factor in the Bangladesh crisis was the international politics. Indira Gandhi had to educate international leaders about the Bangladesh crisis before she could take any decisive action. In our next video, we will discuss the international politics during Bangladesh crisis. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and comment because discussion is solution. For more discussions, please subscribe our channel.